Okay, I feel like we were just here. Guys, what just happened? Everything has changed. War never changes, but everything has just changed. And here's what just changed, guys. Bethesda, the company that is owned by Zenimax. Okay, let me start over. Zenimax was purchased by Microsoft, and that's a big deal because Microsoft has been buying a bunch of different companies, and Zenimax owns, well, most importantly to me, Bethesda. And so in this acquisition, they're getting a whole bunch of really interesting IPs, such as Bethesda's upcoming Starlink game, the Fallout series, the Elder Scrolls series, so like Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, basically everything that at one time shaped my influence, my love for Western style RPGs, Microsoft now owns a monopoly on. Oof. So when I saw this news, this was something that filled me with dread. To be totally honest, my gut reaction was, all right, I'm out. That was my initial reaction, and I don't necessarily stand by that right now. But at first, when Microsoft bought Zenimax and thereby Bethesda, my initial thought was, Bethesda, I loved them, but then they kind of got bad. They got worse over time, and most recently, like. But the whole situation surrounding Fallout 76, which I'm not going to dive into right now, just really turned me off of them as a company overall. And then the fact that they were bought by Microsoft is like, well, I'm not going to buy an Xbox to play Bethesda games, so I'm out. That was my initial gut reaction. However, this could actually be some news with a bit of a silver lining, especially for us Western RPG fans. So I think that a lot of the bad surrounding like Fallout 76 and a lot of the things that Bethesda has done lately and just dropped the ball with, I feel like it might have been the corporate influence of Zenimax. That may or may not actually be the case, but if it was, the new corporate influence is going to be Microsoft, who has a vested interest in making games fun, I think, for people. Now, that's still just trading one bad influence for potentially another. I understand that too, but the fact of the matter is that maybe sometimes the devil we don't know could be better than the one we do. Who knows? But Bethesda was definitely on a trajectory and one that I wasn't on board with. I had actually stopped talking about Bethesda altogether, but now I'm talking about Microsoft. So why is this such big news? Besides the fact that maybe now, there will be less of a creeping Zenimax influence into Bethesda. Hopefully this means that Bethesda is going to turn their act around. And assuming that, man, that would really suck that they are owned by Microsoft if it weren't for the fact that everything that Microsoft owns right now, everything that they do gets moved over to PC as well. And as far as Bethesda is concerned, PC has always been the place to play Bethesda games. I mean, they had a game on Xbox with Morrowind on Xbox, and then Elder Scrolls Oblivion on 360 initially. For the longest time, it was an exclusive, and then it eventually came to PS3. But PC was always where it was at, mostly because of all the community bug fixes and mods that they got, the support from the community. Now, I don't know if that support is still going to exist after 76. Also, I've noticed that a lot of the companies that Microsoft owns right now also are continuing to release games on other consoles like Switch. For instance, what was the game? Cuphead, for instance, is owned by Microsoft now. The company that made Cuphead, I can't remember their names, but that game just got ported over to the Nintendo Switch. So at this point, it doesn't seem like Microsoft is all that. So like Cuphead, for instance, is now on the Nintendo Switch. So the fact that Microsoft is an owner of the company that made that game, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're very protective about the game. Like, they're not really jealous of as a company, as far as like they just want the game to sell, which is interesting to me. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that like the new Elder Scrolls won't come to PlayStation 5, for instance. It just means that Microsoft is going to get a cut of every sale, even if it is on PlayStation 5, which is, you know, maybe that's their game. Maybe they want to be just an owner of... I can't even... I mean, there's so many interesting reasons for Microsoft to do this, and I can't even fathom what their end game here is. But it sounds like, you know, based on what they've said before, they don't even view the PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch as competition. They're competing with what they think is going to be Stadia and Amazon, which is really interesting. Now, Microsoft also owns Obsidian, which is really, really good. Potentially. It could be really, really good, because that's one more barrier between Obsidian, the creators of Fallout, and the IP that they started. You know, it basically... it means that there's a potential that Obsidian could be working on another Fallout New Vegas, which is really interesting to me because one of my friends, Allie Flanagan, actually tweeted to Obsidian asking this exact question, to which they responded with a emoji. Maybe. It's a possibility. Who knows? It looked like a bit of a cheeky response, so that gives me hope. But hey, I mean, even if not, I suppose it's... they might not even need it with the Outer Worlds IP. So one of the interesting things that has happened as a result of this is that Konami has actually started trending on Twitter. Why, after all of this, is Konami trending on Twitter? Because everybody's tweeting about how they would like Sony to buy Konami in order to save the IPs from Konami, which is pretty hilarious. So it looks like a lot of people see this acquisition by Microsoft as saving the Fallout franchise and the Elder Scrolls franchise from Zenimax or from Bethesda, and now everybody wants Sony to buy Konami to save all of those IPs from Konami, and that is hilarious to me. I don't know if Sony... I mean, I know that Konami has been doing really well in pachinko lately. I don't know how much money they've got, or if that's something that Sony even has the clout. I'm sure Sony's a big company. They've probably got enough money to buy Konami. But would the IPs be worth it, or would they just be better off buying the IPs piecemeal? It's hard to say for sure, but it's funny that it's on Twitter anyway. I'm kind of curious, if anything else is going to come from this console wars arm race. You know, I'm not really entirely sure how I feel about Microsoft continuing to buy developers, but in the end, I guess as long as I don't have to go out and buy an Xbox to play the games that I want, that's really all that matters to me. Just as I'm not a fanboy of Switch, I'm not a fanboy of Sony. I am, however, a bit of an anti-fanboy. Admittedly, I'm an anti-fanboy of Microsoft. What do you call that? A hater? I am an Xbox hater, and I don't like that aspect about myself, but every Xbox I've ever owned, the original Xbox, the 360, has had technical issues and a lack of the games that I like to play on them. And so as a result, I've just got this history with Microsoft and the Xbox consoles that just, it turns me off, and I just don't want to have to buy another one. So that's where I am right now, and I understand that my wanting to not buy an Xbox is exactly what Microsoft is trying to fix with the acquisition of these developers. But as long as they're continuing to port everything over to PC anyway, I mean, all they're doing is turning me on to more PC gaming. So I suppose that's where I stand, but what do you guys think? All right, no more news today, guys. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I am SuperDerek, and this has all been news to me. Have a great day, everybody.